Hey everyone, I'm Rachel from Wild Backyard Soaps. Thanks for joining me today. I don't know about you, but I have lip gloss stashed everywhere because I use it all the time. So I definitely make my own, and I've been tweaking this recipe and I'm pretty happy with it right now. You can modify it based off of if you like something that's a little harder or softer, something with more moisture in it. In the ingredients, beeswax and cocoa butter are obviously very hard and have a higher melting point. So those help keep your lip balm from melting if you leave it in the car or in your pocket. And then castor oil kind of acts like a humectant. It absorbs moisture. That's why you don't want to use very much of it in soap, because it can make the soap tacky. But for your lips, it does amazing things for keeping it moisturized. So castor oil is a great one to have in this recipe. And then some of the other oils you can tweak, you can substitute, and the nice thing is, unlike soap, you don't have to recalculate anything for how much lye to put. You can just kind of tweak to how you like it. Now, this recipe makes about 14 or 15 lip balms. If you're just doing this for personal use or for gifts and you don't want to make that many, I would highly suggest having the recipe. That way you can see if you like it or if you want yours a little harder or softer or more moisture. It's the nice thing is about lip balm is you can tweak it to how you like it. There is some wiggle room there. Usually what I do is about a third beeswax, a third harder oils and fats, and then maybe a third or a little less of a softer oil or something liquid like almond oil, jojoba, olive, hemp, castor, things like that. So I would recommend getting a kitchen scale that does 2 decimal places to make sure that it's more accurate, especially since you're working with such a small amount. So I went ahead and measured out my hard oil. So I've got my beeswax and cocoa butter, coconut oil, and shea butter in here already. And best way to melt this down would be to stick it in a pot of boiling water until it's liquid, and then add in your other ingredients, your liquid oils and your flavorings, your vitamin E, things like that. I'm just going to go ahead and microwave it this time. It only takes a couple minutes, so I'll be back. And we're back. This is very hot. I usually start off with a minute and then 30-second bursts after that and just stir in between each one. So now all of my hard oils, fats, and waxes are melted and nice and hot. And I'm going to go ahead and tare this and then add each of my liquid oils. So I'm going to start with castor. And my hemp, so re-tare between each one. And then a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Oops. Don't forget to re-tare. You have to be so careful when you're working in such small quantities. It's easy to go over. Okay. And then I like to add some vitamin E for extra healing. Some people also add aloe concentrate or even lanolin. And this is pure vitamin E. It doesn't have any other stuff mixed into it. And then this is the fun part. If you want to add colorants, you can if they're skin safe and safe to ingest. I just stick with all natural. I don't add any color. You can do different flavorings. I've had hit or miss success with flavorings. I've tried raspberry and milk chocolate and vanilla and passion fruit, and I want to try watermelon. These don't have any sweetener, just so you know. I have just touched it on my tongue and it's very bitter. So that's the thing about flavorings, is you have to be very careful not to use too much. So I've kind of estimated, just from trial and error many times, about 3.5 drops per tube is about right for most of the flavorings that I've worked with. So in this recipe, since it makes about 15 lip balm tubes, so I do about 55 drops of flavoring. However, if you're doing essential oils, those are a little bit stronger, so it just kind of depends. It's personal preference. You don't want to use too much of flavorings or essential oils because it could burn. But you also want to make sure it's enough that it actually smells nice and you can actually somewhat feel it. So for peppermint, I do about 2 drops per tube, and then with like lemon lime, I'll do about 4 drops per tube because then it smells a little better and you can kind of even taste it a little bit, which is nice. So I'm making peppermint because I feel like this is the most popular. So I'm going to do 30 drops of peppermint. And that ends up being about 1.5 grams, just if you end up like scooping. I go with the more expensive essential oils when I know that it could potentially go internally. So doTERRA, I know this is safe that I can ingest the peppermint oil. So for my lips and for the ones that I sell, this is what I use. All right, to make sure everything is really well incorporated, I like to mix for a good little while here. Okay, now the fun part. So I buy my lip balm tubes and this tray from Bulk Apothecary. It's nice to get them from the same company to make sure, because not all lip balm tubes are created equal. They can be slightly different sizes and not fit in nicely, but I got both of these from Bulk Apothecary, and if you're not into making them in large quantities, you might want to find somewhere else, because I think the smallest quantity they have is 100, so I bought a couple hundred tubes recently. So yeah, but this fits 50 on here. I just have maybe 17 and then a couple on the other side just so this can stand up nicely. So this is the fun and easy part about lip balm. You pour it, you let it cool, it's ready. And then you can throw a label on if you want. It's okay if you get a little messy with this. It'll harden up pretty fast. So you just sit and wait like seriously 10-15 minutes until this hardens up more, or you could even pop it in the fridge if you're being impatient. But make sure it's good and hard before you come back with a scraper tool. If it's not hard enough yet, it'll kind of mess up the top and not make it nice and smooth. So wait until this is good and hard on top, then you scrape, and that extra little bit we can pop back in the microwave and that'll fill my last tube. So we'll come back in a little bit. These should be sufficiently hard now. Let's go ahead and scrape off this top. So that makes it look nice and smooth. And I'm gonna go microwave this last little bit here and fill up this last tube, and that's usually the one I end up keeping for myself. Okay, so you just have to let these harden up to overnight, but they can even be ready within an hour. They just might be slightly soft still, but I've totally used them because I couldn't wait because I was excited to try them out. So I'm gonna pop these out and get some lids on, and then I make labels, because if you're gonna sell them, you have to include certain things on your labels because these are considered a cosmetic. And then, of course, when you're sharing with friends, if anyone has allergies, they're going to want to know what's in them too. So these come out really easily, which is nice. So, nice and easy. And then if you buy the labels, they come with the extra little part that goes over the lid so it's sealed, so that way you make sure it hasn't been used before. And that's it. So here's a few that I have been trying out, and I have so many different flavors I like, it's hard to choose. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this was fun and easy. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next adventure.